Have you ever stepped into an elevator, pressed the button, and then just forgotten about it?
Happens all the time.
Exactly. It
Mhm.
just whisks you up or down. You barely give it a second thought. It's just there, part of the background noise of modern life, especially in those huge skyscrapers.
Yeah, they're fundamental.
But what if getting from floor A to floor B isn't quite as simple as it looks? What if there's this uh, really fascinating, fast-growing, multi-million-dollar market working behind the scenes, optimizing how these things work?
Shaping our cities in ways we don't always see.
Precisely. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're digging into the group control elevator market. So, okay, first things first. What are group control elevators?
Well, basically, instead of each elevator doing its own thing, a group control system acts like a central brain.
Oh,
It coordinates multiple elevators, making them work together efficiently, often uses, predictive algorithms to anticipate where people are going, and moves the cars to match.
so it's smart tech.
Very smart. It's absolutely crucial for high-rise buildings, managing the flow of thousands of people every day. It's really where efficiency and innovation meet in vertical transport.
Got it. So our mission today is to give you a shortcut, a way to understand this niche but pretty critical global industry.
Mm.
We're pulling out the key facts, the figures, the trends.
So you get the picture without drowning in data.
Exactly. And the numbers themselves, they're pretty striking right off the bat.
They really are. Globally, this market was valued at $728.33 million back in 2021.
Okay, nearly $750 million.
Yeah, but projection, it's expected to hit $893 million by 2025, and then a really big jump to $1,342.46 million by 2033.
Wow, okay, almost doubling.
It represents a steady global compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, of 5.23%, consistent growth.
That's significant growth for something we just see as a metal box, isn't it?
It is.
It suggests these aren't just about moving people anymore. They're like fundamental to optimizing the whole building's efficiency.
Absolutely, and that impacts urban planning, how we design cities. What's really fascinating is how these systems are just becoming more and more vital to the very fabric, you could say, of our urban environments. It's way beyond just convenience.
Right.
It's about making these growing vertical cities actually work.
Okay, let's unpack that. Where is this growth actually happening? Let's look region by region. North America, for instance.
Right, North America, it's a more mature market, but still showing really solid, consistent growth. It was $250.54 million in 2021
Okay.
and projected to reach $436.3 million by 2033. That's a CAGR of 4.73%.
Pretty healthy. And the U.S. dominates there, I assume.
Yeah, the U.S. is the big contributor. Think $207 million growing to over $356 million. But Canada and Mexico are also showing strong, steady increases too.
Interesting. What about Europe? Similar story.
Very similar, yeah. A sustained climb. Their market was about $161.69 million in 21, forecast to hit $281.92 million by 33. So a CAGR of 4.8%.
Right on par with North America, basically.
Pretty much. Key players by 2033 are expected to be Germany, the UK, France. But you also see consistent development in Italy, Spain, the Nordic countries. It's widespread.
Okay, steady growth in the West.
Yeah.
But if we're talking fastest growth,
Uh.
where do we look?
Now that's where it gets really interesting. You look to Asia Pacific, that region is the undisputed growth engine.
Okay.
It's got the highest CAGR, a strong 6.03%. We're talking growth from around $210 million in 2021
Right.
to a projected $424 million plus by 2033.
Doubling again. The scale of growth there is just, wow.
And if you connect that to the bigger picture, the sheer pace of urbanization, the smart city developments happening there, it's exceptional.
Makes sense.
China's a huge force within that, of course, growing from roughly $59 million to over $122 million projected.
But I saw something about India in the notes that looked particularly impressive.
Oh, absolutely. India's a real standout, truly rapid development. Get this, a CAGR of 6.93%.
Almost 7%.
Yeah, rising from about $27.5 million to over $61.5 million. That's a serious rate of acceleration.
That really is remarkable.
And beyond China and India, you've got Japan, South Korea, Australia, Singapore, all showing notable upward trends. It's directly linked to that urbanization push and all the smart building initiatives.
Okay, so Asia Pacific is definitely the hotspot. What about other regions? South America?
South America's growing too, from about $49.5 million in 21 to $94 million projected for 33.
So nearly doubling there as well, just starting from a smaller base.
Exactly. Brazil is the leader there, expected to grow significantly. But Argentina, Chile, Peru, they're also contributing.
And the Middle East and Africa, are they part of the story?
They are, yes. Consistent development, though maybe not the explosive growth of Asia Pacific. The Middle East is projected to go from $38.6 million dollars up to about $72.7 million dollars by 2033.
Okay.
And the UAE shows particularly strong growth within that, a CAGR over 6%, actually. Saudi Arabia and Turkey are also key markets.
And Africa.
Africa's market is smaller, but growing steadily, from roughly $17.5 million dollars to about $33 million dollars projected by 2033. South Africa is the main contributor there.
So we've got these impressive numbers, these regional differences. But let's get to the why. What's driving all this growth globally?
Well, that really raises the crucial question, doesn't it? How do these drivers actually shape our urban future? What does it mean for moving people up and down buildings?
Yeah.
And it really boils down to three main things happening everywhere. One, growing investments in infrastructure. Two, accelerating urbanization, just more people moving to cities.
Right.
And three, the big push towards developing smart cities. And these factors aren't just in, emerging economies, they're happening in developed nations too.
Yeah.
It creates this fundamental need for smarter, more efficient building systems.
So it's not just about building taller buildings. It's the demand for like seamless movement within those buildings. That affects everything from tenant satisfaction to the building's bottom line.
Precisely. And when you mention smart cities and optimized flow, that brings us right back to what makes this group control tech so different. It's not just mechanical, is it?
No, definitely not purely mechanical.
Far from it. Think of it more like a dynamic brain. It's using complex algorithms, predicting where people need to go before they even press a button sometimes.
Okay.
It spreads the elevator cars out strategically. It can even learn peak traffic times during the day to optimize things further.
Like that destination dispatch thing you sometimes see,
Yeah.
where it tells you which elevator to wait for.
Exactly. That's a direct result of this group control intelligence. It groups passengers going to similar floors, optimizing for fewer stops, faster journeys for everyone.
Which must save energy too, right? Fewer stops, less movement overall.
Significantly.
Yeah.
Reduces energy consumption, cuts down wait times.
Yeah.
It's a win-win.
So it's this hidden intelligence embedded in the steel and cables, making buildings not just taller, but actually smarter, more efficient, better to use.
That's a good way to put it.
So beyond the big numbers, the real why this matters is, well, it's how central these group control elevators are becoming for energy-efficient, traffic-optimized vertical mobility.
Exactly. They aren't just about convenience anymore. They genuinely contribute to making high-rise living and working smoother, greener, and just more functional.
They're kind of the quiet workhorses, making sure our increasingly packed cities still flow properly.
They really are essential components.
Okay, so let's try and summarize the key takeaways from this deep dive. This tech, which most of us barely notice, it's actually a huge, crucial part of modern urban development. We're seeing surprising scale, specific regions like Asia Pacific just booming.
Yeah, a global market set to nearly double, remember, from around $728 million to over $1.3 billion in just over 10 years.
Driven by things like urbanization, smart city projects, and all the while it's playing this key role in energy efficiency and making buildings work better.
That captures it well.
So thinking ahead then, given this global push for smarter, more sustainable cities and infrastructure, what's next? What kind of innovations are coming down the line in vertical transport?
That's the really exciting question, isn't it? Will we see elevators become fully integrated into, say, building-wide IoT systems, predicting our movements before we even think about calling one?
Predictive elevators.
Or maybe even elevators that generate their own power through regenerative braking, pushing sustainability even further.
And you have to wonder how these advances will keep shaping the daily flow, the efficiency of our cities as they get denser and denser. Could it even start influencing how buildings are designed in the first place?
It almost certainly will, making our future cities perhaps truly vertical, seamlessly connected.
Lots to think about there. We'll leave you with that thought.
You know that feeling, right? Standing there, staring at the elevator doors,
Oh, yeah.
watching the numbers tick by, wondering how long it's going to be, especially, in a massive skyscraper during rush hour.
Been there many times.
For most of us, it's just a momentary frustration, kind of annoying. But that experience, it's actually being completely redefined by something incredibly smart working behind the scenes. And that something is called group control elevators. So today we're taking a deep dive into exactly how these aren't just your standard up and down boxes.
Right.
Unlike traditional elevators that respond sort of individually to each call, these complex systems coordinate a whole bank of elevators, like a team,
As a group, yeah.
to anticipate and serve passenger demand way more efficiently. Our mission today is to really unpack the market dynamics,
Right.
what's propelling their growth,
hmm
what are the real hurdles they face, and where is this fascinating technology headed next?
And what's fascinating here, I think, is that these systems are far more than just a convenience. They really are critical, often unseen, but
Hmm.
critical components in modern building management. They contribute hugely to a building's overall efficiency.
Right.
So when we talk about smart cities, intelligent infrastructure,
Hmm.
well, these elevators are a significant sort of foundational piece of that puzzle.
Mm.
They optimize movement in ways we rarely even consciously consider.
Yeah, you just expect it to work. And when we talk about modern cities, we absolutely have to talk about urbanization.
Oh,
I
definitely.
mean, just think about the sheer number of skyscrapers going up all over the
It's
world.
accelerating
As cities expand vertically, and they are really accelerating, just imagine the millions of people who need to move up and down
every single day.
all day, every day in these new, huge urban environments.
Yeah?
So this vertical expansion, it means the need for incredibly efficient, intelligent elevator systems isn't just a luxury anymore, is it?
No, it's paramount. It's a necessity.
It's about more than just getting to the 30th floor. It's managing the flow of people on a scale we've never really seen before.
Exactly. And the core benefits of these group control elevators are pretty compelling when you look at them.
Okay, like what?
Well, they dramatically reduce wait times. I mean, dramatically. Some studies show these systems can slash peak hour waits by up to, say, 40%.
Wow, 40%.
Yeah. Which, if you think about a major high-rise in a financial district, that could mean saving thousands of cumulative hours for occupants every single day.
That's huge.
It is. And they significantly enhance the overall traffic flow within the building and genuinely improve the whole passenger experience. You see them really shine in those high-density places.
Like office towers.
Office towers, definitely.
Bustling.
Bustling hotels, sprawling malls, and of course the ever-growing number of smart buildings where moving people efficiently is it's a daily critical requirement.
But it's not just about speed and flow, is it? You mentioned smart buildings. These sophisticated systems also play a role in that bigger trend, right? The demand for smart building automation.
hmm
How do these elevators actually plug into the larger brain of a building?
Well, they integrate pretty seamlessly, actually. They connect with building-wide systems, things like access control.
Right, key cards and stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
HVAC, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and even critical fire safety protocols.
Okay.
And this compatibility is really key because it contributes significantly to a building's energy efficiency and its overall intelligence, its smartness.
Uh-huh.
It perfectly aligns with that global shift we're seeing towards automation and sustainability, whether it's brand new construction or increasingly retrofitting older commercial and institutional spaces.
So energy efficiency isn't just some nice side benefit. It's clearly a primary driver, a really compelling growth factor for this tech.
Precisely. And that focus on efficiency, it isn't just about saving money on the electricity bill, though that's part of it.
Sure.
It's also about the building's overall environmental rating, which is becoming more and more vital for owners and developers.
Right, ESG goals and all that.
Exactly. These systems use advanced algorithms and real-time traffic data to allocate elevators much more effectively than the old setups.
How does that save energy, though?
Well, the beauty isn't just optimizing movement, it's the hidden energy savings. By intelligently grouping calls,
Mhm.
figuring out the best car to send, minimizing unnecessary stops.
Ah, so fewer empty runs or stops on floors where no one gets out.
Exactly. A single group control system can potentially reduce a building's overall elevator energy consumption by maybe 15 to 25%.
15 to 25%, that's significant.
It is. And over a year, that translates into pretty substantial operational cost reductions and, importantly, a smaller carbon footprint, equivalent to taking maybe hundreds of cars off the road, depending on the building size.
Okay, so the upside is massive, clearly. But like with any big tech shift, the road to widespread adoption isn't always smooth, right?
No, definitely not.
So what are the significant obstacles? What do developers and building managers face when they're thinking about making this leap?
Well, probably the primary restraint, honestly, is the high cost, both for the initial installation and the ongoing maintenance.
Right.
Group control elevators, they use complex components, advanced sensors, powerful processors, sophisticated software,
Lots of tech.
lots of tech. And all of that adds up to a significantly higher upfront investment compared to traditional systems.
Yeah.
And this often deters developers, especially for smaller buildings or projects with tighter budgets. It can kind of limit the technology's adoption mostly to, say, premium or maybe mid-tier construction projects for now.
Because the return on investment might take longer.
Exactly. The ROI can be long-term, which doesn't always fit neatly into shorter-term development cycles.
And what about all those older buildings? I mean, they make up a huge chunk of our cities. It can't be easy putting these cutting-edge systems into legacy infrastructure.
No, you've hit on a really major point there. A lot of legacy infrastructures simply lack the necessary wiring or the modern control panels or even compatible elevator types that you need for this kind of central coordination.
So you can't just plug it in.
Definitely not. Retrofitting those buildings to accommodate these systems can be extraordinarily expensive and logistically really challenging. You might need extensive structural work, electrical overhauls.
Oh, wow.
So that significantly slows down adoption in those mature urban zones where older buildings are just, well, everywhere. It's a bit like trying to put a brand new supercomputer into a vintage car.
Yeah, possible, maybe, but
Complicated and very costly.
yeah. And there's also a very contemporary concern, something always in the news these days, cybersecurity and data privacy.
Indeed. That's a growing concern across all smart building tech.
How does it apply here?
Well, these group-controlled elevators, they rely heavily on real-time data and constant network connectivity to work properly.
Okay.
That reliance inherently makes them vulnerable, potentially, to cyber attacks or data breaches.
Right, because they're connected.
Exactly. So in buildings that house highly sensitive operations, think government offices, major banks, critical data centers, these security concerns can cause real hesitation.
Understandable.
Yeah, when it comes to adopting cloud-connected or digitally managed elevator systems, even if the risk is managed, just the perception of risk can be a significant barrier sometimes.
So given these very real challenges, cost, retrofitting, security, how are innovators tackling them? How are they pushing this technology forward? What's next on the horizon for these vertical traffic managers?
Well, we're seeing continuous development of smarter, more predictive algorithms. That's a big area.
Smarter how?
These systems are evolving to analyze not just the real-time traffic patterns like what's happening right now, but also historical usage data. So they learn over time. This enables truly predictive elevator allocation.
So, like it knows rush hour's coming.
Exactly. Or even more granular, imagine the system learning peak times for specific floors, common destinations, maybe even eventually individual preferences, to optimize journeys before you even push a button.
Wow, personalized elevator rides.
Potentially down the line.
Yeah.
And beyond passenger movement, they're developing proactive service diagnostics, meaning the system can flag potential mechanical or software issues before they become major problems that cause downtime.
Ah, predictive maintenance.
Precisely. Which minimizes disruption and keeps things running smoothly.
And what about addressing those security concerns we just talked about? How are manufacturers tackling that head on?
Yeah, that's a huge focus now. There's a rising emphasis on developing specifically cybersecure elevator management platforms.
Okay.
Manufacturers are actively integrating advanced security measures. Things like end-to-end encryption for the data,
Right.
robust firewalls, multi-factor authentication protocols for access.
Standard cybersecurity practices, basically.
Yes, applying them rigorously to this specific context. It's all designed to counter potential threats, ensure much safer digital communication, and ultimately build and enhance trust among both the users in the building and the building managers themselves.
Makes sense. The industry has to address it.
Absolutely. They recognize that robust security is just paramount for widespread adoption, especially as these systems become more connected.
Okay, so to sort of wrap up our deep dive here, the group control elevator market really sits at this fascinating intersection, doesn't it?
It really does.
Smart urban infrastructure, sustainability goals, intelligent mobility, these aren't just faster elevators anymore. They're becoming integral components of how our vertical cities function.
Well put. Yeah.
And it seems clear that despite some pretty significant technical and economic barriers we discussed, this market is really poised for strong growth, driven by, well, relentless global urbanization,
Can't stop that.
the seamless integration into smart buildings, and that crucial, measurable focus on saving energy.
Yeah.
The future of elevators is just undeniably smarter, faster, and more connected than ever before. It's actually kind of remarkable how much complexity goes into something we interact with daily, and often without a second thought.
It is. And, this raises an important question as we look ahead.
Oh,
How might these increasingly intelligent, increasingly interconnected vertical transportation systems really reshape our daily experience of cities, making our journeys not just more efficient, which we've talked about, but perhaps even predictive, personalized?
like, could they eventually know where you need to go before you even tell them?
It's certainly within the realm of possibility as technology evolves.
Mhm.
Something to think about.